Hello everyone, welcome to my GMB News channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The new chairman of the BBC, Samir Shah, has spoken openly about some significant changes he wants to see at the corporation. The TV and radio executive has been in the job for a year but just gave his first big interview to the Times newspaper. Shah, 73, took over the top BBC job after former Goldman Sachs banker Richard Sharp resigned in April 2023. In his interview with The Times, published on Saturday, March 8, Shah shared some thoughts on changes he thinks the BBC should make under his stewardship. Some of the biggest talking points were the BBC's hiring policies and the idea that its journalists should work exclusively for the corporation instead of supplementing their incomes by moonlighting in other roles. However, one of the most controversial subjects that the interview raised had to do with the broadcaster's flagship football program, Match of the Day. Shah's ideas wouldn't be the only significant change to the program in recent months. In November 2024, Gary Lineker stood down as the long-standing face of MOTD, saying it was the right time. Taking over Lineker's role is not one, but a trio of presenters, Gabby Logan, Kelly Cates and Mark Chapman. But Shah's mission to make changes at the BBC includes one that will surely ring alarm bells for football fans. To end the interview with The Times, Shah expressed his opinion that there should be less football on MOTD in favor of more analysis. This could mean less time for highlights and more of Alan Shearer and Micah Richards. The Times quoted Shah as saying he thinks the show should not be built around highlights. It should be built around analysis and examination of the match to give viewers a deeper insight. Shah explains in the interview that by the time MOTD is broadcast, football fans have already watched the Premier League goals and highlights from other sources. Another revelation, which is sure to be controversial with some big names already working for the BBC, is Shah's determination to end the practice of its journalists and presenters moonlighting in the private sector to supplement their salaries. Shah told The Times, "It's a privilege to work for the BBC, and that presenters are already paid a significant amount of money." The new chairman also believes that the BBC needs to hire more Northerners to give the broadcaster more diversity of thought. Shah says that while the BBC has done really well in promoting diversity in hiring from a range of ethnic backgrounds, it is still a blind spot when hiring staff from other sectors of society. Shah told The Times that the BBC still needs to do a lot more to ensure our staff reflects the country as a whole. "We need more variety and diversity." The new era of the BBC, Chairman Samir Shah's vision for change. It has been a year since Samir Shah, a veteran television and radio executive, assumed the role of chairman of the BBC. Shah, now 73, stepped into the position following the resignation of former chairman Richard Sharp in April 2023. Since then, he has carefully observed the inner workings of the corporation, and in a recent landmark interview with The Times, he outlined some of the fundamental changes he envisions for the BBC. His comments have sparked widespread debate, particularly among football fans, journalists, and media professionals. One of the most significant proposals Shah has put forward relates to the BBC's flagship football program, Match of the Day. The legendary show has long been the home of football highlights and expert analysis, drawing millions of viewers every weekend. However, according to Shah, the balance between highlights and analysis needs to shift, with a greater emphasis on in-depth discussion. He believes that since many fans have already seen the goals and key moments through various digital platforms by the time Match of the Day airs, the program should focus more on expert commentary and a deeper examination of matches. This revelation has stirred controversy, especially in light of the changes that have already taken place within Match of the Day. In November 2024, the long-serving host Gary Lineker stepped down after years at the helm, declaring it was the right time to move on. His departure marked the end of an era, but the BBC responded by introducing a trio of presenters, Gabby Logan, Kelly Cates and Mark Chapman, to fill his shoes. Shah's proposed changes could have profound implications for the format of the show. While football legends like Alan Shearer and Micah Richards provide valuable insights, many fans tune in primarily to watch the action rather than hear extended discussions. Some critics argue that this move might alienate traditional audiences who prefer the existing balance of highlights and analysis. Nonetheless, Shah remains steadfast in his belief that the BBC must evolve with changing viewer habits. Beyond Match of the Day, Shah has made it clear that he intends to bring about broader institutional reforms at the BBC. One of his major concerns is the growing trend of BBC journalists and presenters moonlighting in private sector roles to supplement their incomes. Shah is adamant that BBC employees should be wholly committed to the corporation, arguing that their salaries are already substantial. "It's a privilege to work for the BBC," he told The Times, emphasizing that employees should focus solely on their roles within the organization rather than pursuing external work for financial gain. This stance is expected to generate significant pushback from some of the BBC's most high-profile figures, many of whom engage in lucrative external ventures, such as writing columns for newspapers, appearing on commercial television, or hosting corporate events. The potential banning of such practices raises questions about employee autonomy and whether the BBC's pay structure is competitive enough to retain top talent. Another area where Shah is keen to drive change is the BBC's hiring policies. While the corporation has made great strides in ensuring ethnic diversity, Shah believes that it still lacks representation from a wide cross-section of British society. In particular, he has pointed out a disparity in hiring employees from the north of England. He argues that the BBC needs to do more to ensure regional diversity, which he sees as crucial for reflecting the full spectrum of British perspectives. Shah's concerns stem from the perception that the BBC has historically been dominated by professionals from London and the South East, leading to a somewhat metropolitan bias in its coverage and content. By hiring more Northerners, he hopes to foster a greater diversity of thought within the organization. The idea of expanding recruitment efforts beyond traditional metropolitan hubs has been well received by some critics who have long argued that the BBC's programming does not always resonate with audiences outside of London. However, implementing this vision presents challenges. Hiring talent from different socioeconomic and regional backgrounds will require a concerted effort, particularly in terms of outreach, training, and changing long-standing recruitment patterns. Moreover, there is a delicate balance to be struck between diversifying the workforce and maintaining the BBC's commitment to excellence and professionalism. The implications of Shah's proposed changes extend beyond just policy. They touch upon broader issues of identity, representation, and the BBC's place in a rapidly evolving media landscape. The corporation faces immense pressure to stay relevant in an age where digital platforms and social media provide instant access to news and entertainment. Shah's push for greater analysis in sports coverage, stricter employment policies, and more regional representation can be seen as part of a larger effort to adapt to these changing dynamics. As the BBC moves forward under Shah's leadership, there are sure to be debates and discussions about the best way to implement his vision. Football fans will be closely watching to see how Match of the Day evolves, while journalists will weigh the pros and cons of a stricter employment code. Meanwhile, efforts to hire more Northern staff could lead to fundamental shifts in the organization's culture and content. One thing is certain: Samir Shah is determined to leave his mark on the BBC. His first major interview as chairman has already set the stage for a potentially transformative period in the corporation's history. Whether his ideas will be embraced or met with resistance remains to be seen, but one can expect that his tenure will be anything but uneventful. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.